So looking at July, we see new listings. So we had an increase in supply coming out of the spring, and that's since tapered off a bit. And then for sales wise, we're still fairly strong.
You won't see a lot of properties like these in Woodstock, I'm going to guess. That seems like a really big building from the photo here. What is up, YouTube? Matt McKeever here, and we've got a special treat for you guys. Today, we're going to be diving into the Woodstock market with Derrek de Jonge, and just really excited to have Derrek on the channel. He's a recent new realtor, but he's actually got a pretty good breadth of experience when it comes to real estate. Just before we started recording, I'm pretty sure flipping came up, holding a couple multifamilies as well as a single family rental, and also being able to cash in on some of the recent appreciation. So before we jump into everything Woodstock, Derrek, just thought I'd say, how's everything going? And do you mind maybe breaking down for the audience a little bit more about your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Matt. I'm excited to be on the channel. So yeah, I'm a local agent based out of Norwich, which is about 20 minutes from Woodstock. I recently switched careers and became a licensed agent this year. I'm with Royal LePage RE Wood Realty. So I have a awesome broker of record and experienced agents that I work with there. So anybody that's interested in becoming an agent, already becoming an agent, just a tip. It's a really good idea to find a brokerage that's going to really support you in your first year. So a little bit more about, as a real estate investor, I bought my first property in 2017 in Woodstock, flipped that, turned it into a single family rental, which I held until this year. And then after that first property, I didn't really know a lot about the actual real estate investing, theories behind it, that kind of stuff. So I started reading books. I started watching a lot of YouTube videos. I happened to come across Matt's channel, so I've consumed a ton of his content. That really helped me with the mindset, learning how to analyze deals, learning how to structure things. So that's been a really exciting journey. Also through Matt's channel, I found Jeff Weibo, took his course as well. And that's one of the driving influences in myself becoming a realtor as well. Learning how, what being a realtor entails and how it fits well with being a real estate investor.
Awesome. Yeah. And it sounds like in 2021, you really decided to go all in, became a realtor. You also started really scaling up the portfolio a bit with a duplex and a fourplex, right?
Yeah. So 2021 is definitely, I'm all in on real estate. So it's an exciting journey for sure.
Awesome. Well, I know you've got a great presentation for us, so we'll pull it up here now and jump into a little bit more about the Woodstock market, the stats, and everything else going on in your corner of the world.
So a little bit more about Woodstock, Ontario. So if for those who don't really know a lot about Woodstock, so it's right in about the center of southwestern Ontario. So it's located very well. Its population 2016 was around 40,000. So hopefully when we get the updated census, we'll have some updated numbers, but it's supposed to be around 46,000 this year. And in the next 5 years, it's supposed to grow at another 8% population wise to over 50,000. So it's definitely a growing community. Toyota is one of the major employers here, and that brought in also a number of other industries. Location wise, it's on the 401 and 403. So it's really accessible, and that makes it a great spot for commuters and also other industries to come into town. We also have Fanshawe College, which in Woodstock, which has different things like healthcare and education programs and things like office administration. And I believe they also have an HVAC apprenticeship program there as well.
And I think one of the big things, oh, okay, perfect. You've got it right here. I was just going to hit on the factor that it's in between so many larger centers.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so it's located about 45 kilometers east of London. So yeah, Matt, you know London really well. That's your town. 45 kilometers west of Brantford. So it's located right in between and also close to Kitchener. So it's located really close to these population centers. And when I was doing some research, it's within an hour's drive of almost 2 million people. So it's has a really accessible market for business, different things like that. So yeah, it's really, really great location.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people that maybe aren't familiar with the region, it'd be easy to overlook it and think like, oh, what is Woodstock? But you know, it because of that positioning on both of the highways, it makes for a natural spot for both like a commuter city, right? For people that just want to have a kind of a slower pace of life or live in a smaller community, but be able to still essentially draw upon that 2 million population center you mentioned within the 1 hour drive. And as well, there's also, you know, pockets of really interesting smaller towns and cities. I know we were mentioning beforehand, like Ingersoll. That's one of the markets that last year we actually bought an apartment building in with my apartment buying business. And, you know, we're aggressively looking in the Woodstock market as well, just because we see a lot of potential because of its positioning on the highways.
Yeah, for sure. And I hope, hopefully in next month's video, I'm going to touch on some of the other smaller areas around Woodstock as well. So that'll be coming next month. So diving into some of the stats here. So I put a number of things onto one graph. Hopefully it's not too much, but that way you can see the correlation between a number of these items. So like homes for sale, new listings, sales, and days on market. So looking at July, we see new listings. So we had an increase in supply coming out of the spring, and that's since tapered off a bit. And then for sales wise, we're still fairly strong with 108 sales in July. And then interesting to see that the supply has come up, but has been the blue line. So it's been reduced slightly in Woodstock. So roughly 62 homes for sale, I believe, at the end of July. And I also noticed that the days on market are slightly creeping up. It was about average of 17 days on market. Month before 14, May was 10, which is like crazy. So, and then I'll go on to the next one here. So average sale price by month for all residential homes. So this is obviously a metric that will often get reported in the media.
Yeah.
So you can see that we've, since the end of last year, quite the increase. And then we've had a little bit of a dip here, back up in June, a little bit of a dip again. So that'll be really interesting to watch as we go into the fall with the different things like the election, and if there's any economic uncertainty, to see how that price stabilizes or goes in either direction.
Yeah, it's interesting. And obviously with markets like Woodstock, you've got, you know, when we're comparing it to maybe statistics like the GTA or Kitchener-Waterloo region, you know, there's less volume there. So we obviously get a little bit more volatility. But I think the one thing to highlight for anyone that's maybe watched a lot of my content, but never necessarily considered Woodstock or surrounding areas, is when you actually see those like media briefs about, you know, what the average price is in each city. I know a lot of Londoners sometimes are surprised that Woodstock is usually right at the same price or higher than London, Ontario. And so again, you know, it's important to understand there's a lot going on in this market. There's a lot of competition and attraction towards it.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely an attractive market for, a lot of different reasons. And then, so over the last year, 23% increase, which is pretty substantial. And then you can see we've had a little bit of a decrease, as I mentioned, from the previous month, although I think I was checking the current data for August, and it looks like August is going to be a strong month. So I think it may be heading it back up a little bit.
Gotcha.
So then I wanted to dive a little deeper into the numbers and trying to figure out what's causing the dip and what's going on there. So you can see I separated it out by square footage, size of home. So the 1,500 square feet or less, that's obviously going to come at a lower price point. So as a starter home, they're still going strong. And also the top end of the market, 2,500 square feet or more, also had a very strong month and looks very steady. It's interesting to see the middle of the market, like your bungalows, that kind of stuff. It looks like it's softening up a little bit. So that'll be interesting to watch as we go into the fall as well to see where that goes.
Yeah, appreciate you sharing this, Derek. I haven't seen other realtors break it out this way, but it is interesting to look at because, again, obviously, if you're focusing on high-end flips, this is very valuable to understand. They're probably going to be in the larger square footage. Or if you're focusing on starter homes, you're probably looking at that blue line.
And then I also looked into like the original price versus what it actually sold for. So it's interesting to see here in July as well. Over the past year, you're typically selling over the original price, like your asking price. But we got a little bit of an anomaly here in July where it's the other way around. It looks like the median sale price was below listing. So that might correlate to that softening in the middle of the market. So that'll be interesting to watch for next month as well. If that was just a bit of anomaly based on what came through the market at that point. It also looks like, though, the asking price is higher, which I've heard other people reporting on as well. People are just listing closer to where what they want to get. And then that means sometimes you're going to be selling under ask. I also looked into different building activity based on permits for Woodstock and compared it from July last year to this year. So it's kind of interesting to see across the different types of homes there's actually a lot less permits issued this July. So yeah, across the different types, last year 76, number of units 76, number of units this year is only 24 for July. So that's really interesting. That'll be something I'm going to dig into more for next month's video as well, because I found that really interesting that there's such a big gap between those two numbers. 76.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder if, last year, was there an anomaly with a really big project, or is it this year that for whatever reason, construction slowed, delayed, or some other issue? Because it's also interesting just to look at, the construction value, it being, $8 million this year versus over 32 million in 2020.
Yeah, that's a big difference. So yeah, I'll look into that more for next video. And we can also compare the August numbers and see where they're at. Then I just wanted to go in and highlight some different listings that are on the Woodstock market right now. So there's the first one here. We got a investor special for all the investors that are looking out there. So this building here has a 1-bedroom and a 2-bedroom residential units, and then also has a commercial space, which I believe is empty right now. So we'll go to the MLS listing. Quick take a look at the pictures. So it's located on Dundas Street, so lots of traffic in that area. One thing I noted, maybe not a super lot of parking here if you got 2 tenants plus commercial tenants. Overall looks pretty solid, square, lots of room. Looks like they've done some updates here, so it wouldn't need too much work the way it is.
And so right now in the Woodstock market, what are you experiencing, and what are clients and other investors, experiencing in regards to demand for rental units?
Yeah, there's still definitely a lot of demand for rental units. I'll touch on that later in the video.
Perfect.
I'm actually doing some rental showings this week for the property in Ingersoll. But yeah, there's definitely still lots of demand out there. Okay. And this is another property that I found really interesting right now in Woodstock, 801 Grosvenor Street. So this property actually was just price reduced. So that's one of the ones that the original price was higher. So I believe it was $599 before. So it's been reduced by $50,000. And
yeah,
overall, like I thought it was looks like a nice listing. We can take a look. So it's got the 2-car garage. A little bit outdated, but overall looks.
And so when you're looking at a property like this, do you think, is it well suited for a flip, for like a duplex conversion? You know, what do you naturally start thinking of as an investor when you're looking through this?
I think this one could potentially be done as a flip, like especially like this basement. You could need to reno, could work something out with this. I believe it only has 2 bedrooms, so you could make another one out of that. I'm not sure. It has a pool in the back, so I'm not sure if that complicates things a bit for a flip. It looks like it's got some new garage doors. The garage door openers look a little bit outdated, but overall, really nice backyard space. So it has a lot of good selling features. And this one I found to be really interesting. So it's on Consider. A bunch of large old homes on this street. They're set a bit back from the road. It's got a nice little green park / green space just down the road from this. It's definitely an interesting property. It's a very large home. And
I was going to say, I guess a lot of these properties like the, you won't see a lot of properties like these in Woodstock. I'm going to guess that seems like a really big building from the photo here.
Yeah, it's probably one of the bigger ones on that street there. It's, I believe it had 8 bedrooms and 7 baths. So
interesting. And right now, is it just a single family use?
I did find it on Airbnb, and I'm assuming they're Airbnb renting out a part of it.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming if somebody was interested in purchasing this, that would be probably something you would want to look at it, because it's just such a large home, and it definitely has a lot of
unique characteristics,
historical features.
Yeah, like all that woodwork is just crazy.
Yeah, I think that would be definitely an Airbnb attraction to stay at a historical location like this. Yeah, and if anybody's got time, and if it's still on the market, yeah, this the walkthrough video is pretty cool as well. So what am I up to? So right now, working on building my realtor business and also working on my one rental unit. So we're needed some renovations, some structural brick repair. So that's pretty much all completed. So we reused the kitchen cabinets, threw in a new countertop, new tile backsplash, new floors, new paint. And so it's pretty close to completion.
Yeah, that looks great. And I love the strategic renovations. That's definitely what I would have done back in 2016, 2017 as well, because yeah, it looks like a completely different apartment almost, right? Even though you probably were able to do that on a relatively affordable budget.
Yeah. Right now I'm still putting in the sweat equity for sure. And then, yeah, same thing with the bathroom. It was kind of weird. You had to walk through the bathroom to get to the 2 bedrooms. So we tore the tub out, put a wall in. So it's not the biggest bathroom, but it's definitely a lot nicer, because now you actually have proper privacy, and makes it a lot more attractive to rent out. And we got to redo this whole bathroom, so it looks really sharp now. Yeah, and that's it for my presentation. I'll have lots more for you next month. If anybody's interested, they can follow me on Facebook or Instagram. I'm most active on Instagram. My Facebook page is pretty new, but I'm committed to posting there regular starting this week. So, and if you want to call me or text me with any questions or want to view a property or looking for investments in the Woodstock area, my number is 226-228-8666.
Awesome, Derek. Well, really appreciate you breaking down for us what's going on in the Woodstock and surrounding markets, as well as what you're up to. Because I think for so many investors, it can be really intimidating when you get into that first deal, right? They've often been sitting on the sidelines for a while, maybe caught up in analysis paralysis, second guessing themselves. And just to see that, like, hey, not only can I get a realtor that's excited about real estate investing, but he's actually still doing the sweat equity himself. He's still focused on strategic renovations. That can be really valuable for anyone at home that maybe you're not necessarily that handy. Maybe you didn't necessarily know how to, like, can these cabinets be saved or can these not be? Having someone like Derek on your power team or in your corner can really just help give you a little bit more confidence while you're going through those walkthroughs, because he's naturally going to default, as I would as well, into investor mode, right? And you're like, yeah, I think those cabinets could be saved, depending upon what makes sense, what our exit strategy is on this specific property. So really appreciate you highlighting that, Derek. And really looking forward to next month as well and diving into some of the smaller communities, because I see huge opportunity in the Woodstock area. And that's not just Woodstock. I think there is opportunity there. Also, if you find any large apartment buildings, definitely hit us up, because we're always looking to buy apartment buildings there. As I mentioned, Ingersoll, I think, has a lot of potential as well. Again, it's kind of in between London and Woodstock and a lot of those surrounding areas, because again, they still benefit from that highway exposure. You can get on the 401 very quickly, and all of a sudden in 40 minutes, you're in Kitchener-Waterloo or you're in London or Brantford. And each one of those cities is growing. I definitely watch those markets very closely, and Woodstock's perfectly positioned to benefit from everything that goes well there. Awesome, Derek. Well, again, really appreciate you jumping on the channel. Encourage anyone that wants to reach out. There'll be all of Derek's contact information in the video description down below, and we'll see you next month.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Talk to you later.